My name is Ajit Sachdeva, and I am the Director of the Division of Education at the American College of Surgeons. I also have the distinct honor and privilege of serving as co-chair of the college's Academy of Master Surgeon Educators, along with Dr. L.D. Brett. This is a real thrill for me to be here at this fireside chat. We have a very special luminary and a guest who is well known to everyone on this call and beyond. Dr. Henri Ford has taken the time to join us this evening. We are so delighted, given all his responsibilities, he has carved out this time for us. And of course, Dr. Shabahang, who moderates these fireside chats, will formally introduce Dr. Ford. But I will mention a few things. I've had the real privilege and joy of working with Dr. Ford for many years. He served as chair of our program committee that is responsible for the Clinical Congress, and I've worked very closely with him during that time. He has served as president of the American College of Surgeons, and during that year, his presidential theme of inclusive excellence changed the focus of the entire organization, and I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about that as well during his comments. And Dr. Ford is a consummate educator. He is a member of the Academy of Master Surgeon Educators, a great professional, and someone with very, very high standards and superb personal values that will come through this evening. We are delighted that Dr. Shabahang is again going to chair this program. Dr. Shabahang is also a member of the Academy of Master Surgeon Educators, and he, during his day job activities, serves as the Chief Medical Officer for the Surgery Service Line or WellSpan system. Before I hand the floor over to Dr. Shabahang, I would like to thank our wonderful Academy staff, Kate Kemick, the manager, and Caroline Forker, the administrator, who do a superb job all through the year keeping everything together. And I'd also like to recognize Dr. Patrice Blair, our associate director, who plays an immense role in the Academy. So thank you for joining us this evening. We are delighted you are with us. And with those remarks, I will turn the floor over to Dr. Shabahang. Mo, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dr. Sachdeva. It's a true honor tonight to be having this conversation with Dr. Ford. Just let me do some housekeeping. Obviously, this is our session tonight, and Dr. Ford has joined us. If you have any questions, please feel free. We appreciate the questions that were sent to us, and please feel free to put it in the chat. We're going to try to weave that into our conversation tonight. There will be an evaluation at the end. These fireside chats, along with the virtual grand rounds, are housed on the website of the Academy of Master Surgeon Educators. There's a series of about 35 luminaries who've joined us over the past, I think, 4 years. I really encourage you to listen to some of these. They're wonderful. Just as far as upcoming material in the new year, we will have a grand round on January 23rd, focusing on educational roles, specifically vice chairs of education. More to come on that, and you can see the rest of the schedule. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Ford, it's an honor to be having this conversation with you. Dr. Ford is the Dean and the Chief Academic Officer, University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. I was sharing that I did my surgical oncology fellowship there, so close to my heart, and also the immediate past president of the American College of Surgeons. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you so much. It is a privilege for me to be part of
Thank
the
you.
Fireside Chat.
We have a great group of participants tonight, and I just, as always, would love to start kind of at the beginning in your journey. We were talking about the fact that you lived in Haiti until you were 14. You were born and raised there till 14. Tell us a little bit about your journey from Haiti to academic medicine in the United States.
Well, it's an honor to be here and to really be one of the illustrious people that has participated in the Fireside Chat. When you look at the Hall of Fame of great iconic figures in surgery, I don't know if I belong on that list. Um, but it's a great question. I mean, how does the kid from the backwoods of Haiti somehow, ends up today talking to you as the immediate past president of American College of Surgeons and dean and so forth. And without question, I say I've been tremendously blessed. Born in Haiti to a father who was a preacher and a mother who was a prayer warrior, and they basically told their 9 children that there are 3 key principles that we had to embrace, which was faith in God, value of education, in service to others. I mean, has these 3 principles have been the foundation of my life, period, not just academically. And 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 my father also insisted pretty much at an early age that there was no satisfactory substitute for excellence. That tied into the education piece. He expected all of us to do well. And so when we moved to Brooklyn, just as I was turning 14 and studied high school, even though I didn't speak any English, there was no relaxation of the expectation that we had to do well. So, and that drive really forced me to assimilate very quickly, learn to master the English language, so that by the time I finished high school, I had a full tuition scholarship to attend Princeton. From Princeton, I met some great people who who served as my role models and mentors. They inspired me and made me believe that I too could become a successful Princeton graduate. I followed one of my mentors to Harvard Medical School. And that key mentor was Gary Gibbons, who is now the director of the NHLBI, National Heart, Lung, Blood Institute. So really great people. I mean, but at med school, the key person who really changed my focus was Kurt Newman, who is he's a pediatric surgeon. And Kurt was my chief resident when I did my clerkship in surgery, and I was all set on going into internal medicine. I had life all set. I was engaged. I was going to go into internal medicine, take a year off, get a master's from the Kennedy School in public policy. And then, he ignited my passion for surgery. And so I switched. I switched to um, uh, general surgery. And while I was being tormented, this is a good story for people who I share with from medical students. I was really torn because my life was all set. I had everything pretty much, planned out, and I was supposed to start at the Kennedy School on July 1st. And here it is, my last major rotation, early May, and I find myself falling in love with surgery. Um, and one night after a 10-hour esophagectomy, I mean, 10 hours holding hooks for Dick Simmons, who was, I mean, excuse me, Dick Wilson. Professor Wilson was the chief of surgical oncology at the Brigham. And so I'm waiting for the elevator to go home. And then he walks over and said, "Well, Henri, have you considered going into surgery? And because I think you would have a brilliant career in academic surgery." Uh, Motion, this is like God spoke to me and said, "Thou shalt become a surgeon." And 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 that really transformed my life. That little conversation, that, like I said, only 10 seconds, if that long, and that really changed everything, because I remember driving to my fiance's place and say, "Hey, you can call this engagement off if you want, but I'm going into surgery."
Wow.
And at the same time, this is when Kurt matched into pediatric surgery while I was on the rotation, and he was so excited, and like there was this heaven had come down, and so I too decided to explore what this pediatric surgery was all about. So the first rotation that I did as a 4th year, July 1st, instead of going to the Kennedy School, was to do a pediatric surgery rotation at Children's Hospital in Boston. And from there, I never looked back. And that's the way it all went. So I matched in surgery at Cornell, and yeah, had great mentors. My chair encouraged me to go do um, immunology research with Dick Simmons and Pittsburgh, and that was great because this is where I also met Mark Rowe, and who became my mentor in pediatric surgery, while Dick Simmons was my mentor in research, and he really taught me how to um, think critically. And I always say to look at negative results as a new funding opportunity, a new hypothesis to consider. Yeah, he was truly unique, and he has this uncanny ability to inspire others. So, and you know, the last thing I got to say is I chose to pursue academic surgery because as I reflected on my career coming from the backwoods of Haiti and having been blessed to attend all these phenomenal training institutions, you know, of higher learning, uh, you know, Princeton, Harvard, Cornell, Pittsburgh, and I really felt that I had to pursue academic pediatric surgery so I could give back. And there weren't too many people who looked like I do when I was going through all those institutions. So it was important for me to become a professor so I could inspire others, individuals who may have had similar backgrounds, but even others who've been from even more affluent backgrounds, and because that was important. I couldn't just, as I said before, it's not about getting all you can, canning all you get, and then sitting on the can. It's really about giving back, consistent with what I learned from my parents, which was service to others. And so that's been my inspiration. So a long-winded answer, but
No,
here
I
it
really appreciate it. You've touched on so many things, and I don't want to lose this opportunity. And I was going to talk about mentorship later, but you've mentioned several people who,
goes.
at major points in your career, made a difference. And my question was going to be really about mentorship and sponsorship. And how do you see? You've alluded to it, and how do you see it as you look back? And how has that affected how you do it for others and how you have done it for others?
It's a great question. You see, not only did I have individuals who inspired me, and to some extent also empowered me because they made me believe I could do it. But they went that extra yard to help me get to
Mhm.
where I needed to be. Okay, whether it was Kurt Newman telling me not only you need to do surgery, but now you need to hook up with Dr. Wilson because he can help. And Dr. Wilson, not just telling me do this or do that, but reaching out to his friends and sending me saying, you are going to go to do a rotation at Cornell, at Sloan Kettering, and you are going to meet Dr. Shires. And I mean, so when people go to that extra distance to sponsor you, you you find yourself in a much better place. You know, you have a much better opportunity to succeed. And this was the same way with Tom Shires saying, when I thought I was going to go do surgical immunology, I was going to do immunology at Rockefeller, which was right next door to Cornell. I said, no, you're going to train with a surgical immunologist. You're going to go work with Dick Simmons. I mean,
Mhm.
now I was taken aback, but that's the power of sponsorship. And by going over there and having the imprimatur of Tom Shires, of course, I automatically was going to be treated very well by Dr. Simmons, and likewise, he positioned me to join the right organizations, the right societies, and it was understood that I had to be part of the surgical forum. I had to present at surgical forums. I had to present at surgical infections. I had to be in AAS. I had to be in all the surgical organizations. I had to be seen, and not only that, when you were about to present, you had to present to him, and your talk better be polished. So all those things I think helped me become a much better mentor and sponsor to others, because I saw the power of mentorship and sponsorship in my life, and otherwise I would never be where I am today. Because there are so many people who are far more gifted, far more talented, but they may have not had the same experiences, the same mentors and sponsors that I have encountered. So that's extremely important. And service to others, it's all about giving back. That's why it's an obligation for me to do all I can to help the next generation of physicians, physician scientists. And that's probably been the most cherishable part of my career.
I really appreciate that, because this
I
is
found this
such a
on the web.
powerful thing in so many of these conversations. It's really these fundamental people at the right time and so on. And may I ask, as a dean, how do you use this story and this line to inspire your faculty? Hopefully, I assume to do the same and to serve the learners.
Well, that's an excellent question. And it's important for everyone on my team to understand that we are servant leaders. Our job is to make sure, as educators, we are equipping the students with the tools necessary to become the best physician scientists they can be. And if they don't succeed, it's our fault. It's either because we made a mistake in terms of the admissions process, or we were not good enough educators. We take great pride in saying we have admitted the best class ever in the history of the institution. These students have, amazing MCAT and GPA and so forth. And if they don't thrive, that means that we did not create the kind of environment that can foster their development. We have to take ownership of outcomes. And that's one of the critical elements that I had to impart to every member of my team, to understand that, no, the approach cannot be that, well, these students are just, they're not prepared or not this and that. But, as educators, we have to adapt to their learning style and make sure that we can understand how to impart to them the knowledge, sophistication that they need to be successful. Without questions, we have to adopt the pedagogy to fit the learner, as opposed to the learners that you come and read my mind. This is the way I want you to do. Especially the millennials and the new generation, they learn differently from the way we learn. And we have to make sure that we can meet them where they need to be. And the whole notion of servant leadership helps us as educators to meet them and help them become more successful. And that's what I expect from my team. That's what I expect from all the educators. And I really believe we have to lead by example. So my go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is so inspiring, and I just want to highlight the term ownership of outcomes, because so much as surgical educators, so many times we may blame the learner instead of owning the outcome. And this is, I just wanted to highlight that for our participants, because I really love that phrase.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
I wanted to transition to as we were talking, I mean, there's so many aspects, but I wanted to focus a little bit on the concept of diversity and the concept of, obviously, in all that you've mentioned, I wanted to ask, if I may, kind of a personal question of how much did race and diversity and so on affect you in this journey? And I also want to ask, you went back to Haiti and operated on conjoined twins in working on separating them. I just would love to for you to share what that meant and what effect that had. So two different questions.
Two separate ones. Let's try
Yes.
first to deal with the concept of diversity. I mean, it's a term that I tried to steer away from in many ways, and for multiple reasons that we're going to get to. remember, one of the key points I learned early on was there's no satisfactory substitute for excellence. I learned from the very beginning that excellence is the currency that we deal with.
Mhm.
I wasn't born to be good. I wasn't born to be very good. It was excellence or bust. Case in point, if when I came home, I was not number one in the class, I was ignored by my father. Maybe I would get honorable mention as number two, but below that, forget it. Okay, because his expectation was that you were going to shine. Um, so this notion about diversity, I view it completely, through a different lens. It's never been about diversity. Some people have equated the term DEI with lowering the standards. I think this is what it has come to presuppose. Whereas it's never been about that. It's never been about lowering the standards. It's really about inclusive excellence, and that's the theme that I tried to bring forward during my presidency of the American College of Surgeons, because it's always been about inclusive excellence. We have to recognize that excellence comes in multiple forms, in multiple persuasions, and we have to make sure that we are not overlooking very talented individuals who can contribute massively to improving everything that we do, especially in the field of surgery. I mean, when we look at our history, it took 80 years, literally 80 years, to admit a woman to the Executive Council of the American College of Surgeons. Is it because they were not qualified? It was the first, 1993 was the first time we had a female regent. Is it because they were not qualified? And they were there. There were 5 women who were part of the initial class in 1913. So we've had evidence that there are many talented individuals, whether women or individuals of different race or ethnicities, who were already contributing as surgeons, but had not been part of the club, the leadership club. And when we start talking about inclusive excellence, it's the recognition that there are many outstanding individuals. And I also alluded to in my presidential address that if you were Black back in those days, because of Jim Crow laws and racial segregation and so forth, and racial prejudice, you could not get into the American College of Surgeons. I mean, the first one came in 1913, and Daniel Hill Williams, because he was white passing. The next person was in 1934, who was a Harvard Medical School graduate, who was admitted because people didn't realize he was Black. And once they recognized he was Black, they wanted to revoke the admission. Okay? So the point I'm making is that you have individuals who are clearly excellent, who may not have met a certain racial profile, and they had been excluded. When we're talking about inclusive excellence, it's about excellence in the broader sense, whether it's a woman, whether it's a different ethnic, racial minority, geographic, you name it. We don't, different religion, we name it. That's really what's about. And when you look at what has happened to the ACS, once it embraced the concept of inclusive excellence, it has blossomed. Our scientific offerings and the division of education, I mean, all the things that are happening, I can say unequivocally that we are more vibrant, more dynamic as an organization because of our wide embrace of inclusive excellence. So that is really what it's all about. It's not about lowering the standards, never been, because the motto is to heal all with skill and trust. We cannot heal all with skill and trust if people are not excellent. So
thank you for that.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
no, just yeah, and this is the same thing, it's that foundation, the foundational excellence that probably helped me accomplish perhaps the most daring act of my career. And I started to go back to Haiti immediately after the earthquake. In fact, I remember when the earthquake occurred in 2010, I was at the college. I was flying. In fact, the day after the earthquake, I flew to the college. I remember talking to David Hoyt and the president of the ACS and others, leaders in trauma. They say, well, what are we going to do? What's going to be the response? And so the ACS was motivated to try to do something to help the Haitian people. And I, of course, as a native of Haiti, was now, a leader in American surgery and a member of the Committee on Trauma and a pediatric trauma surgeon. And so I knew I had to get down there to help, especially when you know that, roofs were falling on little children and causing major morbidity and mortality. So there was no way that I could just stand by. So I went within 48 hours after they opened the airport and really worked two grueling weeks, the two most grueling weeks of my life, to try to alleviate the suffering of my fellow Haitian people. And it was remarkable. It was, and let me just leave it that. It was truly remarkable and one of those experiences one never forgets. And when I returned, I knew that it couldn't be one of those cases where it's one and done. I did my job for 2 weeks. I didn't need to go back. And when you started to understand why there was such morbidity and mortality, we recognized, well, not only did Haiti not have a good infrastructure, but they had no emergency medical system, no trauma critical care system, no adequate hospitals. So, and so I say, well, how can I contribute? Well, I decided to use all of my tools to try to improve the healthcare infrastructure, especially when it came to trauma, critical care, as well as neonatal newborn emergencies, because a lot of the kids who were being born around that time, they just died because we didn't have pediatric surgeons who were trained, or just general surgeons who were trained to manage some of those surgical emergencies until somebody with greater experience can come and do a definitive operation. So I started to go to Haiti pretty much on a regular basis, for at least 4 or 5 times a year, bringing a team, and we were training other general surgeons to take care of neonatal surgical patients, or also to improve their trauma critical care skills. Project Medishare was one of those groups that I partnered with, and they had established a hospital down there. So we worked arduously with local physicians, surgeons, and nurses, and so forth. We even established a pediatric residency program at that hospital, the Hôpital Bernard-Merz, because what would happen is that, go on there, do a complex operation, everything goes well for the first several days, and then 2 days after I leave, I call, well, how's the patient doing? Oh no, the patient died. And that's because people were not really trained. So we put a lot of emphasis on training the personnel, and the establishment of the pediatric residency program really made a big difference. So fast forward now, several years later, my good friend, Paul Farmer, who was really one of the greatest humanitarians that I know, he had built a hospital in the central plateau of Haiti after the earthquake, and really became the reference hospital for the country, although it was quite far from the capital where I usually work. So there in the central plateau, there was a lady with a triplet pregnancy, and 2 of the children of the fetuses were conjoined. They were conjoined at the level of the lower diaphragm and abdomen. So it's omphalopagus. And this was a time when all of the hospitals in the US were suffering from donor fatigue. They had accepted too many kids after the earthquake, and too many patients after the earthquake. And this person, to bring her to the state, a hospital would have to commit, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million. And so everybody said no. And so Paul said, okay, Henri, my brother, what are you going to do for me? What are we going to do for this family? So, we had a great team of surgeons and anesthesiologists and healthcare providers at Children's in LA, where I was the chief. And, Dr. Stein had separated several of conjoined twins before, and we'd been involved in some while I was there as the chief. And so we discussed it, and we decided that we were going to give it a try. And that's what happened. So fortunately, we had been training all of these healthcare providers over the previous several years. We had more confidence in them. So the pharmacists, you name anesthesiologists, nurses, everybody was really high performing at that point. We went through a process of meeting every week to prepare for the operation. And we decided we were going to do the operation when the children were 6 months old. And we took a team from LA that had been meeting weekly in terms of the preparations, because we were going through every single thing. Separating conjoined twins is about dotting the I's and the J's and crossing the T's. It's like preparing for accreditation. You just have to make sure that all the details are attended to, and you can map things out almost to the minute. Jim Stein was really masterful at that. And that's exactly what we did. We had our nurses, we had everybody come together. We rehearsed the whole operation the night before, and then we went and executed. So it was just like a symphony orchestra where all the various groups had been preparing for execution. And then the maestro just said, okay, it's time, let's put it all together. And it was just beautiful music. Operation went smoothly. It's as if those kids who shared the liver, and we had to split that all, straight down the middle. It's as if they had undergone an appendectomy. They were eating by post-op day 2, basically. I mean, it was remarkable. I think I think this was crazy. This was daring. I don't think at this stage of my life I would try to do something like this, especially in a resource-poor environment. Because honestly, last comment about this one, and perhaps it's something for all of the members in the audience to consider. Throughout the preparation, the months, the more than 6 months that we had been preparing for this operation, I never imagined something going wrong. Okay. We felt that we were going to take care of all the details. We were going to be fully prepared. But then after our anesthesiologist, from Los Angeles, worked with the local anesthesiologist, again, that we had trained before, and basically they supervised him, because the Haitian anesthesiologist did the intubation. So it was great. It was so the local people really felt that they were in charge. They were doing things, and we were, I was just monitoring. And suddenly, after they go to sleep and it's time to scrub, this veil comes down. And the first time in my life, this thought comes, suppose something goes wrong. Suppose one or both children die.
Nice.
Just think about what that's going to do to your up until now illustrious career. The criticism. Who the heck did you think you were to be able to do such a major operation in a resource-poor environment? Even though we thought, we were just trying, nobody else wanted to do anything. We were trying to do something. And suddenly I could feel my blood boiling, and they say, oh my gosh. And the first time doubt crept in. And this is where part of my background comes back, really full circle. As a preacher's kid, when things are not going well, what do? You pray.
Okay.
So I stopped, and really, perhaps from my perspective, it was the most significant act of leadership, because I told everyone, look, we are about to undertake this big, hairy, audacious goal. I don't know who you believe in, what you believe in, but right now we are all united to make sure we have the best possible outcome for these children we're about to separate. So we are going to hold hands. We're going to pray, whoever you believe in, but we're going to make sure we're on one accord so that we can go and execute. And after that moment, which was captured by John LePuc from CBS, who was there. You know, that was the other thing. You know, so this was being televised, right? It was going to be on CBS News. After that moment, I got to say that veil flew off. Everybody. It was I'm not the only one who was having some doubts. Everybody, the mood changed, and everybody just went about with great confidence, knowing that things were going to be. And that's really what it was. That's why I talk about executing the symphony in C minor. That's what it was.
I mean, what a beautiful way to take this event, and really the lessons in leadership and teamwork. I really appreciate that. I want to, you know, in our preparation, I mentioned, you know, this journey from UPMC to Los Angeles and leadership in the Children's Hospital there to deanship of a prominent medical school in the country. How do you see these transitions? What has it taught you? What are some of the common threads that were necessary for fairly different jobs?
It's a great question, because, you know, let's go back to Pittsburgh, right? I became chief of surgery in Pittsburgh. My good friend Tim Biller said, "Look, I don't want to do a search. I want you to take over and then be the next chief," and so forth. And Dr. Simmons, who was still around, said, "Look, you know, I will know you're successful if you do this, this, and that." All right. So, I mean, set some really stretch goals. And I wanted that. I wanted to make it. One of the requirements was the general surgery residents in Pittsburgh needed to start choosing pediatric surgery, because until then no one was going into pediatric surgery because it was too brutal and it was a hostile environment. Within the first 3 years, just all the top residents wanted to do pediatric surgery because we changed the environment. It was welcoming and so forth, and we started attracting the very best residents in our pool, almost to the point where Dr. Billier said, "What are you doing to me?" So this was great. And another requirement was we needed to increase our NIH portfolio. Did that. We had some really young star fellows that I kept and helped them get their care awards, and then others. And so the environment had really changed within the span of 3.5 years. And then LA Children's came calling. Frankly, I was not looking to make a move. But then, as I started to reflect on my journey, I said, "Look, I wanted to be maybe a chief of a department of surgery by the time I was in my mid-50s. It happened when I was barely 40 or 41. And you know, what's next?" And then now we've basically transformed pediatric surgery at Children's in Pittsburgh already in 3.5 years, when it was supposed to be 5 years, right? So do I die, or or do I become a dean? So I think this was a pivotal moment, and I remember having had some of those discussions with Tim. You know, I shifted from the pursuit of excellence to the quest for significance. It was, well, how do I make the biggest difference possible? And it was through that lens that I decided that the opportunity in LA was meant for me. It was made for me, because LA offered a much bigger platform, 3 million children in LA County alone, compared to Western Pennsylvania, when you had a total population of 1.65 million, and most of them were over 65. So for someone in the pediatric surgery business, LA was quite attractive. And also, if you look at the demographics, the population, I could be a role model for indigent children. So I really felt this was a calling. I remember some of my advisors, some of my mentors at that time in American surgery said I was making a catastrophic mistake because, you know, I'm living the land of milk and honey, which was what Pittsburgh was at the time. You know, UPMC is $500 million in profit. But you have to know yourself and you have to understand your mission in life. And for me, it was about making the biggest difference possible. Principle number 3 from my parents. And that's always been the lens through which I evaluate opportunities. And so I felt I could make a bigger difference, and that's why I went to LA, and it was difficult. It was not. I mean, 70% of the patients were on Medicaid or Medi-Cal or no Cal at all, or no health insurance at all, and but yet we had to build a practice and we had to build an academic program and improve the national reputation of the department and the hospital all at once. So an amazing challenge, and that's really what turned me on. And I was blessed to really put together a great team. Have some great surgeons that I work with, and again made sure that everyone, not just in surgery, but also in medicine, in pediatrics, in GI, and radiology, and anesthesia, understood that we achieve our best together. We are going to be great together. Surgery cannot be great without great radiology, without great anesthesiology, without great critical care. And that changed people's approach. So we all then became united in our quest to make Children's Hospital Los Angeles one of the best in the country. And I can say within a few years, we became one of the top 5, and we never relinquished that. So, and to this date, they remain one of the very best. And I think it was transformative. And the work that we did together caught the attention of the dean. And this is how I got into this dean business. He wanted, so the medical school, the Keck school was on the verge of being placed on probation. So he asked me if I wanted to step in, for 3 months, he kept harassing me to try to consider becoming the vice dean for medical education. Recognizing that the LCME, the Liaison Committee on Medical Education, was due to return because we had so many citations. At that time, we had, 22 or 24. And we had 16 months to get ready for the next site visit. Otherwise, we're going to go on probation. So once again, it looked like a daring mission, a tough challenge, and so my juices were flowing. See, yeah, let's do it. I'll do it. Even though, again, some of my colleagues just forget it, don't do it, and so forth. And the people in medical education that I was going to lead, they were of the opinion that we should let the LCME put us on probation so that the president and the provost can give us more resources. And I explained to them that regardless of their tactics, if we go on probation, it will have happened under their watch. So that means that they were not great leaders. So I said, trust me, we're going to get the resources we need, but let's take care of the problems. And everyone was invigorated, and we went to work. We took care of everything. We got an 8-year accreditation. It was amazing. And I really loved it. I really loved it. And of course, teaching and educating others was always part of my fabric, part of my DNA. So it was a natural extension of everything I was doing with my residents and the fellows and so forth. And we built a great team. I mean, they were phenomenal. And then later on, I got recruited to become the dean of the Miller School of Medicine. The need to build great teams. And individually, we cannot achieve anything because we don't have, let me speak for myself. I don't have all the wisdom. God did not give me all the wisdom and knowledge. And so it's important for me to be able to build a team, individuals who excellent at what they do. We share our passion for service, and if they are equipped with the tools necessary to practice their craft with joyful exuberance, then not only are they going to be happy and thrive, but the enterprise is going to benefit. The enterprise is going to be successful, and me as a leader, as a servant leader, I don't look that bad either. So I think that's the principle that people need to understand. I always make sure that we distinguish leadership from power, from people seeking power. Leadership is not about power. Leadership is about service. It's recognizing that something is not optimal and then using all your skills, your crafts, and so forth to try to establish a new vision and to execute that new vision. And the execution process has to depend largely on your team and also the people whose lives you're trying to improve. So that's really a key principle for me, one that I never deviate from, because there are a lot of people who just want title and power, but they're not leaders.
And go into the last 12 minutes. I definitely do not want to miss the presidency of the American College of Surgeons and what that meant for you, how that has affected things, and what are your thoughts? What did that maybe open your eyes to that maybe before that about American surgery, about healthcare, that maybe you didn't have a view of before this?
So let me preface my comments by stating what a pivotal role the American College of Surgeons has played in my life. What I didn't share with you in the beginning was that during my second year as a young attending, I was discouraged. I really thought that I was not going to make it in academic surgery, despite my valiant efforts. I had applied for 10 grants, society grants, foundation, and zero, nothing. And I was getting discouraged. But I remember Dick Simmons telling me, well, look, you have to understand research is not a 100-yard dash. It's a marathon. And now I tell my fellows and mentees, it's a marathon with hurdles. So you have to stick with it if you're going to succeed. So my life changed around the spring of my second year as an attending when I received the ACS Faculty Fellowship Award. And it was the most glorious day because it revamped or rebuilt my confidence and gave me the resources to obtain preliminary data to study the pathogenesis of necrotizing enterocolitis. And then, of course, I went on to get NIH funding. Lab was funded by NIH for 22 years and so forth. So it was a transformative gift. And for those reasons, I always encourage everybody to make sure they give to the ACS Foundation, because those things, those grants, those fellowships do make a difference in people's lives. And that was my rescue. So starting from that premise and having been through the surgical forum all these years and so forth, before that, I knew ACS was an organization that I needed to be active in, and also because Dick Simmons had expected that, and Tom Shires had been president of the American College of Surgeons right before I started my residency. So this was very much in my DNA. It was ingrained. And I started working and serving in multiple other forums in my local Southwest Pennsylvania chapter. Rose through the ranks there and became president-elect just as I was getting ready to move to Los Angeles. So I never got to serve there. But then I was on the surgical forum committee, which is when I started working with SACH, then the program committee as a regular member. And then eventually, of course, I became a governor, I became a regent, and then I woke up one day and I was elected president-elect. What an amazing, amazing privilege. This was truly a singular honor of my life. And I started off by saying how this kid from the backwoods of Haiti uh, ends up as the president-elect and then president of American College of Surgeons. It's been a unique experience for me to serve as the ambassador for the ACS. During the past year, my wife and I traveled all over. We got to go through almost all the continents, representing the college, also seeing the value of the ACS brand and how much people appreciate it. And it's been a source of inspiration for many to see me in that role. And that's whether it's in Japan, Germany, New Zealand, West Africa, or the Caribbean for that matter. It's really been something to see. And then I'm the fourth African American to become president of the American College of Surgeons. But for whatever reason, the way I've been received all over the world, it was quite humbling. Manila, they treated me like one lost brother from another mother. That was the first international trip. It was really fantastic. I was supposed to go to Israel, unfortunately, because of the war. I could not. They postponed this visit indefinitely. Of course, visiting Puerto Rico is special because it's my island, it's a sister island, and they viewed me as a Caribbean hero who's made it, and so that brings hope. And in West Africa, it was like coming home. When I went to the West African College of Surgeons Congress in Sierra Leone, and then they made me an honorary fellow, and most of the slaves from Haiti came from West Africa in that region. So I always felt that I was a son of West Africa, and a lot of them came from Benin, which is just next to Sierra Leone. The welcome that I received was like, our son has come home as president of American College of Surgeons. It was moving. It was absolutely incredible. And he taught me a whole lot. He taught me that, it's not just about me, it's about what I represent for so many others. But when you get the same experience in Japan, you say, okay, well, I'm a little further away from that. In Germany, in New Zealand, all those things, you change your perspective. And the same was in Brazil and the Caribbean. I went to the Caribbean College of Surgeons as well. And, the pride of all the Caribbean nations in introducing one of theirs as a president was just unbelievable. And this is when you realize that
must have been amazing.
Yeah, it's not just about you; it's about what you represent for others. So this concept of no substitute for excellence, it can impact so many others. So
it is so fascinating that just by achieving excellence, in a way, you're empowering others by inspiring others who may identify with some aspect. In the last 5 minutes, Dr. Ford, I really, this amazing journey that you have so eloquently described, and so many pearls has come through it. Based upon this, how do you see the future of American surgery, or surgery maybe? In any final pearls that you would like to share with our participants?
Well, and this is a great way to close, because what I want as my legacy is to know that I started this process of reimagining the future of the American College of Surgeons. How are we going to be more? We have been so impactful for our first 110 years and 11 years. And the question is, how are we going to remain impactful and how we're going to to become even more transformative for the next 100 years, starting, of course, with the next 5 to 10. And that's why we have embarked on this, during my presidency, we embarked on this strategic visioning exercise to begin to define how we can serve the fellows better, how we can be more relevant to our fellows, but also to our patients, because our motto is still to heal all with skill and trust. We need to have a patient-centric focus, which we do, and we also have to understand that the patients don't heal themselves, it's the surgeons. So we need our surgeons to be able to practice with joyful exuberance. We need to make sure that we are meeting their needs, both in terms of financial reimbursement, advocacy, and everything, because we have paid lip service to some of those things. But we've done a phenomenal job when it comes to education and training. Clearly, that's the jewel of the American College of Surgeons. We have to double down and be even more forward-thinking, more proactive to imagine where and how training is going to be done years from now. And we have to commit to continue to be the leaders in the formation of surgeons. We have to remain as the umbrella organization under which all surgical specialties will come and coalesce. We have to be that North Star, because individually they cannot do what we can, but together, which is part of my theme as president, we achieve our best together. And to add hashtag inclusive excellence. This is the only way we can be truly transformative as we look forward. We need to embrace all of these concepts, because we have done amazing things until now. The next 100 years, even greater opportunities lie ahead for us.
Dr. Ford, thank you so much for ending on this extremely inspiring note. There are so many pearls, and I know Dr. Sachiva is going to talk about some of them, but there are so many pearls. I just want to let you say that on my behalf, I'm honored to have been able to have this conversation with you. Thank you for covering while my Wi-Fi went out on me. Thank you so much. And to all of our participants, I just want to say a very happy holiday season. Dr. Sachiva, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabahang, and it really has been an honor to have Dr. Ford in this position, talking to us from his heart. And there are so many messages, Henri, that you have shared with us that are so powerful, the foundation of solid values without which we cannot excel, the move from excellence to pursuing significance. That is a huge, huge message. Then the thing that Mo emphasized earlier, taking ownership for the outcomes and really assuming responsibility yourself. And it is so critical to emphasize mentorship. In fact, there's a question in the chat as well about mentorship and mentoring people who are not as privileged. And I think that whole mentorship and sponsorship issue is so critical. And of course, with your very solid scientific background and your huge research that earned you also the recognition from the Forum Committee as the dedicatee for the year was an amazing accomplishment. And we are so privileged to have you as a leader of the college, the president of the college last year. And it really has been a personal pleasure and joy for me to work with you, to learn from you and with you. And thank you so much for sharing all these pearls. We've all come out better and wiser thanks to your wonderful chat this evening. So thank you so much, Henri. Good luck and future successes. And thank you, Mo, for running it so well, as always. And once again, thank you to all the participants for being here. It's a holiday season. Thank you for taking time to be with us this evening. Happy holidays to everyone, and a very happy and healthy new year. Thank you all, and have a great rest of the night. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And Mo, thank you for being a great facilitator.